Right now, Alex Eala is a number 17 seed at the Cincinnati Open, the highest seeding of her career at a WTA 1000 event, while she sits at number 20 in the world. Her growing popularity was already impossible to ignore in Toronto, where tournament officials move her opening match to center court because the second-largest stadium, with a capacity of just 2,800 fans, simply could not handle the demand. But to understand how significant this moment really is, rewind 3 weeks. One of the most respected tennis journalists in America, a man who regularly sits across the microphone from Andy Roddick on the podcast, reposted a message about an 18-year-old Austrian winning her first WTA Tour title. On the surface, it seemed harmless, but underneath was a subtle jab aimed at the 21-year-old Eala, who at that exact moment had yet to win a WTA Tour singles title. He did not write the original message. He simply shared it, but in sports media, even a repost can send a powerful message. Filipino fans understood the implication almost immediately and responded within hours, with thousands taking to social media. The reaction was intense, and the word directed at the journalists were far from gentle. If you only saw the screenshot circulating across Facebook and TikTok, it might have looked like just another online dispute between tennis fans and a journalist. But the story was about to become much bigger than that. The kind of controversy that burns for 2 days and then disappears was exactly what this seemed like at first. But what happened in the days after that repost was something almost nobody in tennis media was prepared for. Not the analysts, not the tournament directors, and not even the players sharing the same locker room. Just 3 weeks ago, the narrative was that Alex Eala had not really won anything at the WTA Tour level yet. Today, tournaments are physically moving her matches because the crowd she attracts are too large for the scheduled venues. Nike is preparing a dress for her US Open campaign, and a journalist who has covered tennis a decade suddenly finds himself on the wrong side of one of the fastest reversals the WTA Tour has seen in years. So how did Alex go from being questioned for not having a WTA Tour title to becoming one of the biggest attractions in women's tennis in just 21 days? That is what this story is really about, and I promise it is not the story you think it is. Because the most uncomfortable detail in the entire saga is something very few channels have been willing to say out loud. To understand why that single repost hit such a nerve in the Philippines, you cannot begin in Washington. You had to go much further back, to a young girl boarding a plane and leaving Manila behind. The Philippines is home to more than 100 million people, a country where basketball fills arenas, boxing creates national heroes, and volleyball can sell out coliseums on an ordinary Tuesday night. Tennis was never one of those sports. There was no established academy pipeline, no massive professional development system, and no clear path for a young Filipino player dreaming of reaching the highest level of the sport. There was no former Grand Slam champion waiting to mentor her, no coach with experience inside a top 100 locker room who could explain what life on the professional tour was really like, and no established pathway for a young Filipino player to follow. So when a girl from Quezon City decided she wanted to compete at the highest level of tennis, there was really only one option: leave home. She was still a child when she boarded a plane from Mallorca to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy, thousands of miles away from her family, surrounded by a language that was not her own, and living in a country where few people even knew what a Filipina tennis player could become. While her friends back home were doing homework, celebrating birthdays, and enjoying ordinary childhood moments, she was training on courts in Spain, far from everything familiar, constantly being told that she was behind and had more ground to make up. Her mother, Riza Eala, was a professional swimmer who competed at the 1985 Southeast Asian Games, so this was not a family that romanticized elite sport. They understood exactly what it demanded: the endless hours, the injuries, the sacrifices, and the years you never get back. And they let Alex go anyway because they understood something most people did not. In the Philippines, talent was never the biggest problem. Access was. And that is what makes a departure so emotionally powerful. Because if you are Filipino, or if your parents are, you probably recognize this scene immediately. Somewhere in your family, someone has boarded a plane and left home. A nurse, a seafarer, an engineer, a caregiver, someone who left so the next generation could have opportunities they never had. That airport goodbye is not just a metaphor in the Philippines. It is a reality lived by countless families. It is a national experience shared by millions of Filipino households, with roughly 10% of the country's population living and working overseas. So when Alex Eala left the Philippines, she was not simply chasing a professional tennis career. She was following the same path that countless families had already experienced. That is why the connection between Alex and Filipino fans runs so deep. This is not casual fandom, it is personal. If your family has its own airport goodbye story, drop the city in the comments. Because the point is not just to share location, it is to show how many families have lived the same experience. And once Alex left home, what she accomplished is a part that often gets overlooked. She became the first Filipino player to win a Junior Grand Slam singles title, and later added another Junior Grand Slam title in doubles at a different major. She remains the only Filipino tennis player to have multiple Junior Grand Slam titles, and that distinction is historic. Then she turned professional, and the milestones began arriving faster than the country could process them. She became the first Filipina to win a Grand Slam main draw match in the Open era, defeating Clara Tauson in the US Open, the first Filipina to break into the WTA Top 100, and the first Filipina to reach a WTA singles final, accomplishing that breakthrough in Eastbourne. Each achievement was more than a personal milestone. It was another door opening for Filipino tennis and another reason an entire nation began believing that Alex Eala could become something truly extraordinary. Alex Eala became the first Filipina to win a WTA 125 level title in Guadalajara, and in 2025 alone, she made one of the biggest ranking jumps on the tour, climbing from around number 130 in the world to a year-end ranking near number 50, a remarkable rise of roughly 80 places in just 12 months. Then came Miami, where, as a wild card, the 20-year-old stunned the tennis world by defeating world number 5 Madison Keys and then world number 2 IGA Swiatek in back-to-back matches on her way to the semifinals of a WTA 1000 event. No seed. No major expectations, just a young player walking into one of the biggest tournaments in the world and taking down 2 top 5 opponents in the same week. But there was a trap hidden inside all that success, and Alex walked straight into it without realizing it. When everything you accomplish is a first, there is nobody ahead of you to measure yourself against. No Filipino player before Alex had reached that ranking level, so there was no previous version of Alex Eala to compare her progress with, no established benchmark, and no clear definition of what normal development should look like for someone coming from her background. And when people cannot find a fair comparison, they often choose an unfair one instead. Whoever happened to be convenient that week, whoever just won something, whoever fits the argument they already want to make. That is exactly what happened on a Sunday afternoon in July 2026, when an 18-year-old Austrian teenager lifted a trophy that Alex Eala had never lifted. In Prague, Lily Taggart defeated Doria Sniger to win the Prague Open, a WTA 250 event, claiming her first WTA Tour singles title. It was a genuinely impressive achievement, a teenager winning her first tour-level trophy and becoming one of the youngest players to move toward the top 50. But suddenly, that celebration became part of a much larger conversation about Alex Eala. Nobody in tennis had a bad word to say about Lily Taggart's achievement, and nobody should have. Her first WTA Tour title was a genuinely impressive accomplishment. Then a post appeared on X from an account called Glucky Gluckucky celebrating Taggart's victory, but the framing carried something else underneath it. A comparison that did not need to be explicitly stated because the numbers told the story instantly. Taggart, 18 years old, had just won her first WTA main tour title. Eala, 21 years old, had not yet won one. 2 sentences, 2 careers, and 1 quiet verdict. Then John Wortham reposted it. Now, it is important to be precise here, because much of the discussion surrounding this story has blurred that distinction. Wortham did not write the original post, he did not directly attack Alex Eala, and he did not publish a criticism of her. He simply reposted someone else's message and moved on with his day. But John Wortham is not an anonymous account with a cartoon avatar. He is one of the most established voices in American tennis journalism, with decades of experience at Sports Illustrated and a prominent role as co-host of Asterisk Served Asterisk, the podcast he does with Andy Roddick. When someone with that level of influence shares a message, many people see it differently from an ordinary fan reposting something online. To Filipino fans, the repost felt like an endorsement of the comparison, and the reaction was immediate and enormous. Fans called the move problematic and shameless, and within hours the replies had turned into a full-scale eruption, spreading from tennis social media into Philippine sports media and massive Facebook communities. But here's the question that matters. Why did the particular repost hit such a nerve? Because Filipino fans had already absorbed years of skepticism. They had been told Miami was a fluke, that Alex's breakthrough was temporary, that her biggest wins were exceptions rather than evidence of where she was heading. And now, when another young player won a WTA title, some fans felt that Alex was once again being reduced to what she had not yet accomplished instead of being recognized for everything she had already achieved. They had already absorbed the wild-card commentary, the doubts, and the constant questioning of whether Alex Eala truly belonged at the highest level. So this was not simply another social media post. It was a repost with no word attached, a silent click that somehow detonated far beyond what anyone might have expected. Why did something so effortless create such a massive reaction? The answer is uncomfortable, because the underlying post was not technically wrong. Let me repeat that, because this is the part almost nobody wants to acknowledge when telling this story. At that exact moment in July 2026, Alex Eala had not yet won a WTA Tour singles title above the 125 level. That was not spin, and it was not a media narrative. It was her record at the time. Guadalajara was a WTA 125 event, Birmingham was a lower-level tournament, and Eastbourne ended with her reaching the final but falling short of the title. She was 21 years old, ranked inside the world's top 30, and yet her WTA to-level trophy cabinet was still empty. The comparison was therefore factually accurate, and that is precisely what made it sting more than a simple insult. You can fight an insult. You can dismantle a bad opinion. You can argue against an unfair prediction. But when someone takes a fact you cannot dispute and shapes it in a way that makes your achievements look smaller, there is no easy response. There is no argument that changes a number. The only currency capable of answering one fact is another fact. And at that moment, Alex did not have a one fact that would silence a comparison. Then add another layer, because this controversy did not happen in isolation. 6 months earlier, in January, Alex walked into the Australian Open and lost her opening round match to Alicia Parks in straight sets. Her first Grand Slam of the year was over after a single match, and that result gave new life to a narrative that had been quietly following her for more than a year. That Alex was famous primarily because she was Filipino, rather than because of what she was accomplishing on the tennis court. The argument was that the attention surrounding Alex Eala was demographic rather than athletic, that the Philippines is a massive and highly engaged online market, that the tour benefits from that audience, and that Alex receives crowds, media coverage, magazine features, and commercial opportunities that a player with her ranking might not normally receive. Strip away the politeness, and the accusation was brutally simple. She was a marketing story wearing the clothes of a tennis player. By late July, the case against her had been assembled into an uncomfortable narrative: massive fan base, major sponsors, magazine covers, Nike attention, sold-out sessions, and yet no WTA Tour singles title to point to when someone asked what all of it was actually built on. So what do you do when you are 21 years old and the entire internet has handed you a fact you cannot argue with? You cannot tweet your way out of it. You cannot give an interview that suddenly changes the record. There is no press conference capable of closing that gap, and saying too much only risks making you look defensive, which can reinforce the very narrative you are trying to escape. There was only one answer, and it was brutal. Walk onto a tennis court and start beating players you had never been expected to beat, in public, immediately, while carrying the expectations of more than 100 million people who were now watching to see whether the doubters were right. That was the situation Alex Eala faced when she flew to Washington, D.C., for a tournament she had never played before. She was unseeded, had no protection in the draw, and faced a field filled with elite names, including Jessica Pegula, the world number 3 and top seed, 4-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka, Alina Svitolina, Venus Williams, Madison Keys, and defending champion Leylah Fernandez. The stage was set, and there was nowhere left to hide. Then came the first round against Qin Wenjiang, the Olympic gold medalist, and nobody knew what to expect. Not the crowd, not the analysts, and perhaps not even Alex herself. Eala dropped the opening set and then fell behind by a break in the second, reaching the exact moment where the story was supposed to end. She could have lost quietly on an outside court in Washington, and by lunchtime, everyone who had questioned her for the past year would have had another piece of evidence to point to. Instead, she fought back and won. Next came Leylah Fernandez, the defending champion and a U.S. Open finalist, a player who had already proven she could thrive in that tournament environment. Eala beat her too. Then came Alina Svitolina, a former world number 3 whom Eala had already defeated earlier that summer in Berlin. That first win had been described as an upset, But when Eala beat her again, it started to look less like a surprise and more like a matchup that favored Alex.